Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm your host, Katie Augustine. So I'm the founder of the Transformation Center, which is based in Westport, Connecticut. And at the center, I love to work with individuals, doing shamanic healing and also transformation coaching. And in addition, I can offer other practitioners a space so you can meet them and learn from them and benefit that way. And I love meeting new people, and so just reach out. We're going to put up the slide that has the contact info. It's basically just Transformation Center CT for Connecticut.com. There's a calendar of events on there. You can register right there on the website. When the warm weather, we're going to have sound baths in the backyard again, which is really my favorite. So anyway, you can check it out. And I'm very excited tonight that my guest is Glenn Mate. Welcome to the show, Glenn.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah, I was really excited that you were able to make it.
Yeah.
We met a while ago, and then we kind of lost connection, and now we're back.
Divine timing.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm going to read a little bit about you before we get started.
Sure.
Okay, and then we're going to put up your slide with your contact info so people know how to reach you. All right, so Glenn Mate is a transformational coach. Sounds familiar. Dedicated to empowering individuals to live their most authentic lives. Yeah. As a multifaceted professional, he wears many hats. Actor, writer, podcaster, channeler of multidimensional beings. He's an intuitive. He's a light language practitioner. He's a spiritual teacher, retreat host, and facilitator, keynote speaker, and father of 3. Is there anything else? Did I leave anything out?
That's it in this moment.
Yeah, right, in this moment. It's a good way of putting it. Yeah, so with all of this experience, decades of experience, Glenn's mission is to help people discover and anchor in their own truth through heart-centered guidance. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I love that. I think, we're on the same wavelength, it feels like.
Absolutely. I think today's day and age, we need to get out of our mind and into our heart. So when we do that, and there's a process for that called coherence, yes, we start to utilize the combination of our heart and our brain. And the heart has intelligence. So,
absolutely,
the old adage, follow your heart, put your heart into it. Those all had so much more and deeper meaning.
Yeah.
And when we start to understand it from another level of perspective, we can embody something completely different and change our reality for the better.
Yeah. No, I think that sums it up. That's so interesting you said that, because I don't know if I shared with you that the book I'm working on, it's called Say Yes, How Getting Out of My Head into My Heart Transform My Life.
Yes.
And so I'm right there with you on that. I love it. Absolutely. And it's so great that you're sharing all of this, with all of us.
It's a fun body of work. And, for me, the best part is seeing people transform. And that's why I call myself a transformational coach. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm giving them the vibration and the advice to accept something new in their reality. And when they embody that, then the transformation takes place. They start to change their life, and the reality becomes better, and their relationships become better, and their self-worth and self-value becomes better. And then they're like, wow, I didn't know that this small little change could open up a whole new chapter in my world.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's so grateful to see that transformation.
I totally agree with you. It is. I think that's the perfect word for it. It is a transformation, and it can start with a small shift,
right?
And then it grows from there. So I'm really curious. I'd love to ask my guest, how did you get interested in all of this to begin with, Glenn?
Well, as a young child, I had an unusual experience. I came home from school one day, and my mom was home, and she was working from home. I set my books on the kitchen table, walked up to my room, and I sat on my bed, and I was just sitting there for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden, I noticed that I was looking at myself from the top, viewing from the top without any ceiling, 4 walls and a floor, and there's Glenn sitting on a bed with his arms crossed just like this, with his head against the headboard. And how am I viewing myself from up above? So I didn't know how to unpack that as an 8-year-old boy. So I felt like I stayed there maybe for about 20 minutes or half an hour. It couldn't have been longer, but I remember walking back down to my mom and say, "Hey, Mom, I just had this really unusual experience." And I explained to her just what had happened. And she said, "Don't you ever do that again."
Oh, my goodness.
Now, my mom was a devout Roman Catholic, so anything that was out of the norm was probably not something that she was in her wheelhouse of faith or beliefs.
Right. She didn't understand it.
She didn't understand
want
that.
to go there.
So I kind of put a cap on that until my teenage years, and then I started to hear a little bit more, understand a little bit more. There was more about astrology coming to the surface in the latter part of the 70s and the early 80s, and it became a more prominent thing.
Right, right.
So I started to follow into that. I was always curious, and I always wanted to know, what was the truth? What was truth? What was really true? What's true about this world? What's true about myself? What's true about faith? What's true about religion? And I went down the rabbit hole, and I've been digging out of that rabbit hole for the last 30 plus years, and just learning that truth is everywhere. It's your point of perspective and your perception in which truth is being held. So everything is really true.
Yeah, it can be for sure. And I was wondering if you would also ask the question, like who am I?
That's like the best question.
In? Yeah.
That's a question I think that we're here to define. Our incarnation in a human life itself is to define, who am I? And through every experience that we have, every emotional, traumatic, loving, positive, negative, we learn, who am I? And we understand that when we become more aware of who we are, then we can live from that authentic place.
Yeah, I think that sounds like pretty much what I think as well. And it feels like that when we came in as infants, we forgot, because that's how it works,
Right.
And so we spend time like remembering, in a way, rediscovering, and that's why we need, people like you to help us on that journey of rediscovering, because it happens differently for everyone. And in some people, this lifetime don't. They just don't go there.
Right. And that's okay.
That's okay.
Because it's still a learning experience. It's not like it was a wasted life,
Right.
but it was another experience that we could say, I decided not to do something. And how did that turn out?
Which is also a lesson.
Which is also a lesson, which is always experience. So in every negative experience that we label negative.
Well, I was going to say, we think of it as negative.
Right. We label it negative. There's really positive information to be derived from that experience. Now, it's our choice to decide, how are we going to use that? Are we going to go through the same repetitive experiences over and over and over and over and over again? Because we have a tendency to do that. Or can we say, I'm going to choose something different?
Yeah. And I think that takes a catalyst to do that. Is that your experience?
Yeah, and that's what we call these traumatic experiences, right?
Right.
Right? And sometimes they bring us to a very low place where the only place is to look up. We're at the bottom of something, or we may have reached very close to the bottom of something.
Yeah. Or it's something that, the universe wants to tell us, and instead of us listening to the first few little nudges, so to speak, then it knocks us over the head and says, I think you better listen this time, right?
Right. And that's a part of the things that I like to teach, because as we build our intuition, we increase our awareness. And when we increase our awareness, we're increasing our consciousness, and that widens the lens of our perception. We start to see things from a very bigger place, a wider aperture. We take more information in, and we can analyze that better to make better choices, to create a better reality for ourselves.
Well, exactly, because we do create our own reality.
Right.
And which is, to me, very exciting, once you get the hang of it. But at first, it can be a little daunting to know that your thoughts, your emotions, all of those are creating what is happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned thoughts, and that's where everything starts. Now, so many of us think that, reality is done to us, but it's really done for us. And when we learn how to manifest the life that we want, we're starting to analyze, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? So what are the thoughts that are being the catalyst to my emotional state? So when I'm angry, when I'm sad, when I'm frustrated, when I'm depressed, what are those thoughts that are being the catalyst for those particular emotions?
Right.
And then when we realize what emotions were, I'm like, oh, do I really want to stay there?
I can change that.
I can change that.
Change my thought. What is that saying? Change your thought, change your life, or something like
Change your thought, change your mind, change your life.
Yeah. So you also were into neuroscience at one point,
Yes.
right? What was that about?
Well, I started reading some of Dr. Joe Dispenza's materials and became very, very interested in that. And I wanted to know more, and I wanted to learn more about the brain and synaptic connections and what parts of the brain are responsible for certain emotions and whatnot. So I started to go to these Dr. Joe week-long retreats and advanced retreats. And after I've got a bunch underneath my belt, I formed a relationship with Dr. Joe and also became a consultant working and teaching some of his work to corporate entities. So we would go into different companies and different businesses and teach how people can change by changing their thoughts, by changing their emotions, to changing their ideas, which changes the pattern and brings new experiences. Mm-hmm. And then I decided it was time to go out on my own to bring more of my own learning in. And most of my work is based in heart-centeredness, which I derived from the HeartMath Institute.
Okay, great. Yeah, they're terrific.
So I also worked for the HeartMath Institute and still do a little work for some of their corporate stuff to help people, develop their own programs to help them with testing programs, because the HeartMath has many different types of certifications that you can acquire.
Okay. Do you want to talk about HeartMath a little bit for those people who aren't familiar?
Sure. The HeartMath Institute was developed in 1991 by a few psychiatrists, someone from the radio industry who worked for Motorola, and also a few scientists. And they got together and they tried to understand the intelligence of the heart. Now, the heart, as we know, has 43 million neurons. Those are the same neurons and synaptic connections that exist in our brain. So there's literal intelligence within our heart. Yeah. Now, many indigenous people knew this thousands of years ago, and they understood how to speak and be in a coherent state to speak to each other, to figure out disagreements, to set precedents, or what we would consider like laws or types of way of behaviors that are acceptable within their communities.
So using the heart to do that, communicate
right.
through the heart.
So with all of these things that the HeartMath Institute has done through all of their research and testing, and if you went on the website heartmath.com, you find that there are literally tens of thousands of research projects. All different types of research, from equestrian to trees to plants to humans, and different integrations on how our harmonic resonance through our heart works. So we create this field, and this toroidal field is actually created through the heart.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So that's how we have some of our intuition. It's based that way. So when we feel uncomfortable and someone comes into a room, we immediately perk up and like, oh, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this person in the room, or I'm not sure about this. Well, that is someone walking into our information toroidal field, and we're sensing that. And it works in so many beautiful ways as well, where we can become connected with other human beings, with our children, with our loved ones, And we have this intuitive ability like, oh, I need to call my grandmother. And then all of a sudden, you pick up the phone, you're ready to call, and there she is.
Yeah.
That heart-centered connection
So that's where that comes from.
has no boundaries. It's unlimited.
Amazing.
So it's just a wonderful thing. And there's lots of information on the HeartMath Institute.
Well, people can check it out. Yeah, because I always think of it, I characterize it for myself as like a heart-to-heart connection.
It's absolutely.
And because it feels that way. That's how I experience it. But I didn't really get into all the research around it, just a little bit. So this is true.
There's lots of science behind it. So we can see that science and spirituality are really bound together.
Totally. Yeah. So is there a way that you could demonstrate how, like if somebody's thinking, well, how do I use my heart? How do I come from my heart? How do I communicate with my heart?
Absolutely.
How would you do that?
So when we adjust our nervous system, so we have the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So think of it as like the brake pedal and the gas on your car. One creates a rush and one puts things down that slows it down. So our breathing controls our nervous system. When we take our breath and we start to slow it down to about 5 seconds in and about 5 seconds out, we adjust that nervous system to something that we call homeostasis. Homeostasis is simply put in balance. So when we're in balance, we're balancing out our nervous system, our digestive system, our cardiovascular system, our muscle skeletal system. I don't know why I can't speak today. I'm just so excited. So we're balancing out everything within our body. And when we do that, we can focus our energy into our heart and create that loving bond. Now that spawns from a thought. So when we go into a form that is a higher elevated emotion, so anywhere from joy, happiness, bliss, gratitude, deep care, compassion, when we go into those emotional states, we can connect with somebody in such a way that creates this open, welcoming field. And that's like when you walk into a room and you see your friend that you haven't seen in 10 years, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you. You're opening up your heart. And you come into that coherent state. So we can do that with intention to go right into that coherent state anytime. And we can also lift ourselves out of those negative emotions by going into that coherent state as well.
Right, because you can't have both at the same time, I've learned.
You're one or the other.
Yeah. And I think what you said about intention, to me, that's really important.
Absolutely.
Because what you set an intention, the energy flows to that. So it's just a matter of choosing and deciding to do it. Mm-hmm. So I love the way you describe that. That's really cool.
And one of the things that I love is I do a heart-centered practice every day. So the moment I wake up in the morning, we're still in something called the hypnagogic state, right? So that's the elongation of a higher brainwave. We're still kind of in that alpha brainwave state. Mm-hmm. If we go into that coherence by slowing our breathing down, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and we bring in that emotion of gratitude, we can start going through all of the great things that we're grateful for. I'm grateful I've got a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I'm in this warm, comfortable bed. I'm grateful I've got this body that works for me. Mm-hmm. And even the smallest, most simple things that we're grateful for can start to create the days that we really want, the days that are exciting, the days that to be, happy and joyful. And you're setting that intention in the very first part of your day by using something that comes to you every day, that hypnagogic state. So you're taking advantage of that higher brainwave state and going into gratitude. It's like doubling down and winning, the lottery every day.
I love that, Glenn, and because it is accessible. It's there for us use. And I do a similar routine, and it's just it's set. Yeah, it just changes, or not changes, but sets the tone for the day.
Right.
And then from there, what I love is the possibility. I love possibilities. So it's like I don't know what's going to happen today.
Right.
I kind of have an idea of what my part might be in it. But there's so much more that the universe has in store for us if we're open to it,
Yes.
right?
Set the intention for having childlike curiosity. Just like two little kids playing, like, what are we going to build today? Should we go in the sandbox? Should we go play hide and seek? What should we do? Or what's available for us? Where can we go that we can explore and be excited about? And when we come to our days every day like that, that's how we build this incredible reality.
Right. Yes. Yeah. The joy, the newness, the possibility, the way that ripples out to other people is what I really love too, because you can't go in a room with that kind of mindset, that whole attitude, and not have a positive effect on someone.
Right.
It's just
We're not faking it. That's the thing.
Right. It's
real.
Automatic.
It's energy. It's a vibration. So you're emitting this high level frequency, and it's like you meet somebody and you become intoxicated in their presence.
Yeah. And that's when the heart-to-heart connection forms, and that person starts to get it. And I love that.
Now, energy always wants to lift, right? So even if someone is having a rough day and they come into contact with this person like that, their energy changes because it's an invitation to come up to a higher level of energy, which is where we want to be.
Yeah, no, I've seen that. I've seen it. It's very palpable. It can be.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool. So how do you put all this to work in what you do?
Well, I put it into everything that I do.
Okay.
So whether I'm acting, whether I'm teaching, whether I'm with a client, whether I'm speaking in a group, whether I'm in front of a retreat and hosting and facilitating, it goes into everything.
So it's really who you are.
It's become who I am.
Yeah. That's a good way of framing it, because when I love to talk about love. One of my favorite things, the heart, which is love.
Yes.
And I feel like we're all love. That's who we are. That's who we came in as.
Right.
So the more that you remember that, and then you can just embody it. So it's not necessarily an emotion, because when you were talking about emotions, you didn't mention love as an emotion. It's the compassion, it's the caring, it's the results of love, perhaps.
Right. Those are all the fractals, so to speak, of love, right?
Yeah.
And there's an endless amount of fractals.
Yeah, but it's like being love, embodying love, because I think that's who we are anyway. So, right?
We are.
Yeah, I mean, we were created from love.
And even when we look at people that we label negative, right? They're showing us what love is not.
Well,
which still is loving to do, because it shows us the importance of who we are.
Yes, to me, and it shows what they might need.
Right.
It's almost like the lack of love.
Mm-hmm.
When people are behaving in a certain way that's negative, it feels like they're asking for love.
Yes.
To me, and I see it. It's like, I do love you. I'm not talking about love, romantic love. It's like that divine love.
It's a divine love, and it's a bonding, right? We're operating from this higher frequency, and we have that mutual compassion for each other.
Yeah. So to get on that wavelength, to me, that's really helpful for people. And also, for them to know that there's nothing wrong here. That maybe they're having some, what we call negative. I don't even like that word negative, but, experience is not helpful for them. Right.
We all dip into that every once in a while. We've had our toes in it, of course.
For sure.
But that's a part of life. It's a part of learning and experiences. It's a part of defining who we are and what we want to be or what we don't want to be. Mm-hmm. And that boils back down to authenticity. And authenticity is love. Yeah. You're coming from your truest self. One of the things I like to say about authenticity is intimacy. Now, intimacy has been labeled as something that happens between, two people that love each other. But I like to say it's into me see. Into me see, meaning that I am vulnerable and I am showing you who I am. The highest level of intimacy is being authentic. You're showing who you really are.
Well, and I think vulnerable.
And vulnerable.
Because you said that, but
Right.
that's the first thing that came to my mind, is because when you're vulnerable, the other person has permission to be vulnerable.
Right.
So there's a real connection. There's a real, like you said, an authentic way of being, rather than talking about something that isn't meaningful.
Right.
Or, because I think, the other but situation, I guess, is that if you have fear, then it's hard to have love.
Right.
To me, everything is either love or fear.
They're really two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
Right? So, and there's stuff in between, and you want to get away from that fear to understand that everything that is true to who you are is based in love.
Right. So if you can move, like you said, it's a spectrum. So if you can move the needle closer, take the love and move it closer to the fear starts to evaporate.
Right. It dissipates. It certainly does.
Yeah. So, wow, this is really a great conversation. I want you to. I'm starting a group. I don't even know what. I guess a gathering, and I'm calling it Soul Synergy.
Love it.
And we're just going to meet like once a month and talk about things like this, and what's real, what's important, and raise each other's vibrations, and have just an energy available to everyone that is just a beautiful way of being. So anyway,
I love that.
I'll tell you more about that.
We need to champion each other.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah,
we need to keep cheering on each other for the good things that we do, for the people that we are, for the loving beings that we want to be. And we don't need to come from that separation anymore, or that division. We need to come into unity again.
Yeah, because we're all one to begin
with. We
with.
are all one.
Yeah, and I think that's something else that we forgot. That our culture is not kind of set up that way, so to speak.
It's coming around.
I think so too. I think
we're coming back into that
yes.
unity, because we're realizing that the old systems are no longer functional. They're dysfunctional. Yeah. So we need to create. And in order to create, we need to be unified. Because one person can have a great idea, but if nobody else is behind that idea, it's just an idea.
Yeah. And
that comes back into, collective consciousness of love. Yeah. So when we're in that acceptance, when we're in that compassion, when we're in that champion mode, we start to propel each other forward and move forward with our ideas, and we become more powerful.
Right. More resonant with,
right.
A group can be so much greater, the energy, than just an individual. Yeah, yeah, and I think also it's more accessible now. I think there's more light coming onto the planet in general.
Absolutely.
It's more, it's easier, And I think
it
people
is.
are starting to feel it.
It's starting to get easier because we're evolving. And that's such a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, this has been great talking to you. We have about another 30 seconds. Is there anything that I didn't mention that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
You can find me at my website.
Let's put up Glenn's slide again. And what's your website?
It's www.divinephoenixhealing.org. And you can find all about me and about what I do and about my messages.
divinephoenixhealing.org.
.org.
Oh, okay. It's a nonprofit. Okay, well, thank you. So we'll put up your slide again, and we'll continue this conversation another time, I'm sure.
Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for being here, and thank you to our audience for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and we'll see you the next time on Conscious Conversations. Namaste.
Namaste.